What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Vicarious Gaming. I'm Evan Woodruff, and today we're talking about a topic so large it could be the biggest in all of gaming. All right, here we go. Today I want to talk about immersion. Is it important? Does it matter personally to you when choosing a new title to play? Why and how do game developers use it to make bigger and better titles? Does multiplayer need to be immersive or just fun? Could a classic campaign style title like Tomb Raider be more immersive than a virtual reality experience? This is a topic I've been considering since I first started my channel, and because of the size, we're going to be breaking it down to focus on 3 main points: whether or not immersion is important, why it matters to us as gamers, and how developers can and do use immersion to expand our universe in-game, and just where exactly the peak of immersion really is. With all that said, let's cut to the chase and just talk immersion here at Vicarious Gaming. So right off the bat, we have to establish what immersion is. The definition of immersion is baptism in which the whole body of the person is submerged in the water. But I don't think that applies to gaming. Unless you're playing Subnautica in some underwater pod in the middle of the ocean, that actually sounds pretty awesome. Anyway, there's another definition: a state of being deeply engaged or involved. Now, I don't know about you, but to me, that's exactly what I'm looking for when I sit down to play a video game. Whether you're into simulator games, first-person shooter games, or role-playing games, you want to be involved when you play. And there are many ways you can feel involved in a game, whether it's feeling a part of the world, or researching the best tactics, or your heart's pounding when you're one of the last teams alive in a battle royale game. Now that we know what immersion is, we can look at how developers use it in the titles they produce. When breaking down the different applications of immersion, there are 3 different modes game developers use: graphical, story-based, and gameplay. Before we go too far, let's briefly cover each so we're on the same page here. Graphical immersion is the most direct, with game developers applying the latest technology to up the realism to near perfection. This application is responsible for that wow moment you get when you're stunned by the newest trailers at E3 every year. Designers entice us by showing off their best stuff, pushing the limits for our entertainment. Think of your favorite E3 trailer as a flashy dunk in the NBA. It scores points, yes, but it exists to hype up the crowd and the players, to get them excited or involved or immersed. Story-based immersion is when developers draw us in with tactics like character progression and linear story advancements. These methods are highly important to many players and are used to great effect. Role-playing games rely on it heavily, and even action titles like God of War or Injustice put it to great use in modern times. In fact, you could even make the argument that without story-based immersion, Injustice is just another cliché stage fighter. This brings us to the most variable form of immersion by game developers: gameplay. This is how a title like World of Warcraft draws in millions of players annually. Surrounding them in a variety of things to do in a virtual world really makes them feel a part of the universe. The first time that you realize that there are players buying, selling, and creating goods in a virtual world is a very immersive moment. While League of Legends has successfully created extensive lore for their universe, the fact is the gameplay immersion is what launched the title into the great heights that it has reached. The feeling of battling on Summoner's Rift 5 vs 5 is thrilling, and it truly feels like your fight matters. The different tactics provide hundreds of hours of unique experiences, always providing something new for you to try yourself or even fight against. That level of investment in a game is certainly immersion, at least in my eyes. So why is immersion important? Is it important at all? The first thing that I want to discuss here is that everything in gaming is subjective. There are games that I will personally love that you may hate, and vice versa. But if immersion matters to you, it's important enough, right? Either way, immersion is one of the most original concepts in all of gaming. Before we even head to Pong or Mario, Dungeons and Dragons was a literal craze that took the world by storm. Millions of players gathered at friends' homes to play the latest campaigns, much like LAN parties in the early days of online multiplayer. These games weren't fun or addicting because of the graphics or technology, but because you sat down with friends and actually immersed yourself into a world that was bigger than reality. I mean, at the end of the day, if we could do the things that we do in games, we wouldn't have to play them, right? Even FPS titles like Escape from Tarkov or PUBG are amping up the realism to create the tensest, adrenaline-filled experiences we've ever had in gaming. This is a form of immersion that often goes overlooked, as there is no storyline at play, and the graphical detail becomes less important compared to the heart-pounding scenarios you play through. While you might not feel fully immersed when you hop into Warzone to play a few battle royales with your friend, the point remains that we seek out new experiences that we otherwise wouldn't be able to have in the titles that we select. In doing this, we instinctively show how important immersion is to us gamers. So we've made it this far talking about immersion, and we haven't even discussed virtual reality at all. With all the basics explained, it's easy to think that a title that checks all the boxes would be even more immersive if transferred over to virtual reality. And for some titles, that may be the case. Being that we're talking about the peak of what's possible, I'd like to think that today's technology is only scraping the surface of what's really possible. While a title like Skyrim should theoretically be earth-shattering when switched over to virtual reality, the launch was famously plagued by bugs, which really kills the immersion. Without powerful technology, the graphical requirements of these games far exceeds what most users can support. While the future may indeed hold titles that can provide great immersion through story progression, gameplay, and graphical immersion, I personally don't think that the technology is readily enough available yet for these type of games. Furthermore, the tabletop giant Dungeons & Dragons is still going strong with 3.7 million players globally, 46 years after its release. The game succeeds without graphical immersion whatsoever, and it seems unlikely that a virtual reality rendition would be more popular than the original title. The argument, like many in the gaming universe, boils down to preference. The type of immersion that appeals to you the most is ultimately the most important. While some may argue that immersion isn't necessary, by breaking down exactly what it is, we begin to see that all titles use some sort of immersion to retain players and enhance the experience they provide. Looking back at some of the best games ever is a great example of immersion. I just started playing through The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time for the first time ever. Yo, leave me alone, dude. And despite the blocky graphics, I feel fully immersed. The world is alive, and the story and the music is amazing. It really keeps me invested in the game. If you want to check out my first ever playthrough of the Ocarina of Time, tune in on Twitch at twitch.tv/VG_EvanD on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and check out the highlights on my YouTube channel as well. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like so more people can see it. Comment below and subscribe if you want to be a part of the Vicarious gaming community. I can't wait to see you on my next stream. I am starting the Forest Temple. I'm scared. But again, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe out there. And of course, happy gaming.